Hello and welcome back to TF News, your news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am your host, TG13. Today we are going to compare some quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. And we also had a new bet pop up in our league last night, so we'll discuss this at the end of the video. Let's get started. First up, we're going to compare some running backs. And I know what you're thinking. TG, that's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of words. I've drank a lot today. I can't even read that. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, sorry. I've done this a lot today. So, I will break down player 1 and player 2 and let you decide which player is the best. So, production efficiency. This is like analytics for the NBA. You have your positive or plus players. You have like a 0 is an average player. Then you have plus would be like above average, good players, great players, Patrick Mahomes. Negative players, you have below average, bad, horrible, Mitchell Trubisky. So there's your line. Gotcha. All right. Production efficiency for player 1, negative 2.7. Production efficiency for player 2, negative 3.5. Obviously, player 1 is was more efficient last year. Carries for player 1, 247. Player 2, 164. Player 1 wins again. Rushing yards, 1,070 for player 1. Player 2, 871. You're sitting here thinking, yeah, but per game, player 2 was better. And I would agree with you. Average defenders in the box, about the same. 6.9, 6.7. Red zone touches, 53 for player 1, 26 for player 2. Goal line carries, 7 for player 1, 3 for player 2. You're like, man, player 2 is just not a very good player. What is going on here? Well, this is where it gets interesting. Last year's strength of schedule for player 1 was 29th. For player 2, it was 11th. You're like, wow, okay, player 2 definitely had the harder schedule. Well, let's look at this year. For player 1, the third hardest schedule in the league. Man, that's tough. Player 2, 32nd. Wow. I mean, that's awesome. That definitely helps out. Let's look at the offensive line going into this hard schedule for player 1. 27th. Not good. Best of luck to you. Whoever owns you as a player, man, good luck. Player 2, 17. Okay. Kind of average. That's all right. Got an easy schedule. Average offensive line. I could do that. Could be an RB2, maybe a high-end RB3, but probably around an RB2. Player 1, RB2, but with that schedule and that offensive line, I don't know. Player 1, average draft position right now is 5.2. Player 2 is 4.7. You're like, okay, they're around the same. You know, it's the end of the 4th round, early 5th. Who do I want? Well, I'm going to show you. Player 1, David Montgomery. You're like, oh, no, I don't like that guy. Get him out of here. Oh. Tanner, that's you. Player 2, Miles Sanders. You're like, man, got a mediocre line, easy schedule. His name's Miles Sanders. I'll trade for him. I like it. Sorry, I had to do that. Anyways, so yeah, player 1, player 2. Next up, we're going to compare some wide receivers. Player 1, player 2. So snap share, player 1, 92.8%. That means he was on the field on offense 92.8% of the time. Player 2, 87.5. Like, okay. Player 1, he plays more. I like that. Targets. For player 1, 132. Player 2, 130. You're like, okay, they're about the same. I'm okay with that. Red zone targets. Both 16. You're like, okay. You know, doesn't really matter which one I get. They're about the same. Receptions, 100 for player 1. 92 for player 2. You're like, huh. Well, close enough. I can deal with that. Touchdowns, 10 for player 1, 5 for player 2. And you're like, What's player 2 doing out there? Having a picnic? What's going on? True catch rate for player 1 is 93.5%. True catch rate for player 2 is 90.2. And you're like, okay, I can do that. Production efficiency, this is what I was talking about earlier, plus 13.7 for player 1. You're like, who is this guy, LeBron James? And for player 2, negative 1.3. Who is this guy? Miles Sanders? David Montgomery? The joke from the last slide. Never mind. So, 2020 team strength of schedule for player 1 is 20th. 22nd for player 2. You're like, okay, last year they're about the same. For player 1, 2021 team strength of schedule would be 11th. Player 2, 31st. You're like, man, player 2 they got a way easier schedule. Now look at the ADPs. 8.4 for player 1, 6.6 for player 2. And you're like, man, I could hold off and not draft him, player 2 at 6.6, and get this guy, player 1 in the 8th round. It's a lot to think about. I know. Now I'm gonna tell you who's who. So, keep the numbers, keep the words in your head. Here we go. Player 1, Tyler Lockett. I know. Let's get Russ cooking. Let's do this. Probably not. But this is last year going into this year. That's pretty good value at 8.4. Player 2, Amari Cooper. You're like, really? Amari Cooper, the most boring player in the NFL, behind David Montgomery? Tanner, that's back at you again. That's 2 today. Let's go! Anyways, sorry. Got a little sidetracked. Anyways, player 1, player 2, wide receivers. There you are. Next up, we have quarterbacks. Player 1 had 37.8 pass plays a game. Not too shabby. Player 2, 40.8. Is this guy Brett Favre? What's going on right now? Passing yards last year. 39.71 for player 1. 47.37 for player 2. Like, man, that player 2 guy, he's a stud. Oh, I knew. Touchdowns last year for player 1. 26. That's alright. Not as good as Justin Herbert, but I could deal with it. Player 2, 38. That's alright. You know, I saw this one guy named Patrick Mahomes. He threw for like over 50 touchdowns once. Foreshadowing. Anyways, 2020 catchable pass rate. This is where I started getting really interested in this. The catchable pass rate. So when the quarterback throws the ball at the wide receiver, called a pass. This pass rate is if the wide receiver could actually catch it. Like if he threw it 5 yards over his head, Blake Bortles, that's not very good. But if he hits him in the numbers, great quarterback, that's a really good pass rate. So 74.6 for player 1, 76.1 for player 2, and you're like, okay, not bad. They're about the same. Red zone completion, 66.7% for player 1, 59.3% for player 2. And you're like, man, player 1 is way better in the red zone. What's player 2 doing? I mean, is that Jake Luton? What's going on right now? Now, because we are fantasy football, we include running and with the passing. So this is where I broke down the rushing of these quarterbacks. Carries, 133 for player 1, 63 for player 2. And you're like, okay, not bad. I got Lamar Jackson on the left. I have Tom Brady on the right. I got this. Red zone carries, 25 for player 1, 10 for player 2. And again, you're like, Tom Brady doesn't run, so who cares? Rushing yards, 819 yards for player 1. And you're like, wow, man, he's better than Miles Sanders at running. Rushing yards for player 2, 302. You're like, okay, I get it. The dude's fat. It's Ben Roethlisberger. He likes to eat cheese pizza. He's not running. I understand. Rushing touchdowns for player 1, 11. Player 2, 3. You're like, yeah, I get this. I got it. 2021 offensive line rank per PFF. 11th for player 1, player 2, 7th. So let's look back at these. Player 2, obviously, way better passer. I would hesitate when he gets in the red zone. Maybe not as good as people think. Doesn't like to run the ball unless he has to. Has a good offensive line. He's being drafted at 206. Back at player 1. Not the best passer. Pretty good in the red zone. Loves to run the ball. Offensive line rank of 11th. He's getting drafted at 507. You're like, wow, at 206, I could draft Travis Kelce. I could draft Chris Godwin. I could draft Allen Robinson. I could draft pretty much a lot of running backs at that position. Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs. Like, wow, quarterback at 206. What are these guys thinking? Well, I'll show you. Player 1, Kyler Murray. Little guy, loves to run. Bet you didn't think he was that good in the red zone, though, did you? Nah, that's what this video's for. Player 2, the king, Patrick Mahomes. I know. You're like, what? I thought this guy was awesome in the red zone. I thought he loved to run. No, he's too busy eating. Just kidding. That was mean. Love the guy. This just goes to show you that, you know, Patrick Mahomes is way up here on everybody's list. He gets way overdrafted. You need to slow down a little bit. Fantasy football is about running too. Kyler Murray at 507 is a better pick than Patrick Mahomes at, what was he, 206. Not good. But anyways, now let's talk about the bet. So I have bet Cody that the Jacksonville Jaguars will finish better in the 2021 season than the Cincinnati Bengals. I made this bet last night after drinking a lot of soda and talking about the Jags all night long. As you can tell, I'm a Jags fan. I live in Jacksonville, diehard Jags fan. But I think this, because one, they have an easier schedule. If you look at the schedules, the Bengals have, I think it's the 6th hardest schedule in the league, and the Jags have the 18th. So they're about average for their schedule. They have Trevor Lawrence. I know, the long flowing hair, the god-like body. Yeah, again, the Jags. And they have Gardner Minshew. I mean, come on. We have the 2 best looking quarterbacks in the league. Well, I love Trevor. Like, take this off. But here, washboard abs, loves to surf, long blonde hair. Yeah, we have 2 of the best looking quarterbacks in the league. I mean, I'll take it. We have good running backs. I know the Bengals have Joe Mixon. And then you look at wide receivers. I will give the edge to the Bengals there. I love our wide receivers. But with Jamar Chase, Bengals have the better wide receivers. So I'll give them that. Offensive line, I would probably give to the Jags. They have a very good interior offensive line. I seriously believe that Walker Little will be the starter at left tackle probably about halfway through the year. And then you look at defense. Not much to write home about with either team. Both their D line, they're average if you even want to say that. Linebackers, the Jags have Miles Jack and Joe Schobert, but again, average. And then the secondary, the Jags are really young. Bengals really don't have anybody. I know this is fantasy football. But so yeah, I made that bet. We do bets throughout the year. I just wanted to keep a running tally of everyone's bets. So before you get into your mock drafts this year, I want you to look at Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray, see where they're going. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. He goes high in these mock drafts too. But just see where these quarterbacks are going. I mean, it's unbelievable that Patrick Mahomes is going off a name alone at 206. You can get so many good running backs and wide receivers. You get Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Darren Waller. And this is all standard league. I need to say that. Obviously, in Superflex league, they're going to go really high, but this is just a standard league. So at 206 for Patrick Mahomes, that's really, really high. Then look at the wide receivers, Tyler Lockett and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is going ahead of Tyler Lockett, and I showed you why Tyler Lockett's better than Amari Cooper. and then Miles Sanders and David Montgomery. Tanner, the only reason I put that in there is because I don't like Miles Sanders and I don't like David Montgomery. I have Miles Sanders, you have David Montgomery. But as you can see, the schedule is way harder for David Montgomery. He wasn't very efficient last year, and he did have a lot of carries, which is good. I'm a big believer in carries. But player two, or Miles Sanders, obviously he didn't play as much. He's actually worse at efficiency. I think it's negative 3.5, and but his offensive line is better, and his team strength of schedule is better. Um, and I'm really curious on Jalen Hurts. So again, just something to think about when you're doing some mock drafts. Um, Running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers. Are you drafting on name alone, or are you drafting on how efficient they are and what they could be? So again, thank you for listening to TF News. I am your host, TG13. Leave a like, leave a comment, have a drink of soda, and relax. Spay and neuter your dogs, and have a good night.